In Chicago's exclusive Drake Hotel ballroom, a quiet software engineer was about to face society's cruelest judgment. What started as a charity gala took a shocking turn when viral attacks questioned her worth. Lily Carter wasn't your typical athlete's girlfriend. For years, she'd built her life on solving complex problems, known for her brilliant mind. When she discovered her grandmother's hidden $2.3 billion fortune, she had no idea she was walking into the ultimate power play. Carter's response would reshape professional basketball forever. What began as humiliation would become legendary revenge. Before we jump back in, tell us where you're tuning in from, and if this story touches you, make sure you're subscribed, because tomorrow I've saved something extra special for you. The flash of cameras hit Lily Carter like physical blows as she stepped from the black sedan, her hand instinctively reaching for Jake's arm. The Portland Children's Hospital charity gala drew the city's elite, and tonight she felt every bit the outsider she'd always been in his world. Her grandmother's vintage emerald dress, the only formal wear she owned that felt remotely appropriate, suddenly seemed inadequate against the designer gowns that swept past her on the red carpet. "Smile, babe," Jake murmured beside her, his practiced grin already in place for the photographers. At 6'4", with the kind of athletic grace that made him Portland Storm's franchise player, Jake Sullivan commanded attention wherever he went. Tonight, in his perfectly tailored tuxedo, he looked like he belonged among Portland's social royalty. Lily tried to match his confidence, but her software engineer's mind couldn't help cataloging the whispers that followed them. Is that really her? I thought she'd be taller. What does he see in her? The ballroom of the Portland Art Museum glittered with crystal chandeliers and the soft murmur of wealth. Lily recognized faces from society pages, tech moguls, real estate magnates, politicians, people who moved in circles she'd never imagined entering before Jake. She watched him work the room with effortless charm, his laugh genuine as he spoke with teammates and sponsors. This was his element. She was just visiting. "Lily, darling!" The voice belonged to Scarlett Monroe, Jake's agent, who materialized beside them in a stunning black gown that probably cost more than Lily's monthly rent. Everything about Scarlett was sharp. Her platinum bob, her smile, the way her eyes assessed Lily from head to toe in a fraction of a second. "You look lovely tonight." The pause before lovely lasted just long enough to sting. "Thank you," Lily replied, keeping her voice steady. She'd learned to navigate Scarlett's particular brand of polite hostility over the past year of dating Jake. "It's a beautiful event." "Isn't it?" Scarlett's gaze swept the room with satisfaction. So important for Jake to be seen supporting the right causes. Image is everything in professional sports. Her eyes returned to Lily. "Speaking of which, have you given any thought to what we discussed about your visibility?" Lily's stomach tightened. The discussion had been Scarlett's suggestion that Lily might consider staying out of the spotlight during Jake's contract negotiations. For his brand, she had said. For his future. "I think I'll get some air," Lily said, excusing herself before Scarlett could respond. She needed space to breathe, to think, to remember why she belonged here, if she belonged here at all. The museum's terrace overlooked the city lights, offering a moment of quiet away from the crowd. Lily pulled out her phone, checking her notifications more from habit than interest. Her breath caught. The Instagram post from the gala's official photographer was already up, tagged with hundreds of comments, most focused on Jake, but scattered among the praise were other observations. Really? That's the best he can do? She looks like his accountant. Gold digger alert. Somebody's punching way above their weight. Each comment felt like a small knife. Lily knew she shouldn't read them, but she couldn't stop scrolling. Years of feeling like she didn't quite fit in. Growing up with her grandmother after losing her parents, being the scholarship kid at Stanford, the introvert in a field dominated by extroverts, came rushing back. "There you are." Jake appeared beside her, his brow furrowed with concern. "Everything okay?" Lily showed him the phone screen. "Your fans have opinions." Jake's jaw tightened as he read, but before he could respond, a group of socialites approached. Lily recognized them from previous events. Wives of team owners and sponsors, women who treated charity galas like competitive sports. Jake! Victoria Ashford, wife of a major team sponsor, air-kissed him on both cheeks. Wonderful to see you. And Lily, of course. The acknowledgement felt obligatory. We were just discussing the foundation's fundraising goals, said another woman, her diamonds catching the light. It's so important to have the right people championing these causes. Absolutely, Victoria agreed, her gaze sliding to Lily. Though, I have to say, some of us were wondering, Jake, with your rising profile, have you considered that your personal choices reflect on the entire organization? The question hung in the air like smoke. Lily felt the familiar burn of humiliation, but this time it was public, recorded by the ever-present phones and cameras. Jake's smile never wavered, but Lily saw the tension in his shoulders. I'm not sure what you mean, Victoria. Oh, nothing specific. Victoria's laugh was light, cutting. Just that image matters so much in professional sports. The wives and girlfriends of star players, they're part of the package, aren't they? Part of what fans invest in.
Lily waited for Jake to defend her, to shut down the conversation with the kind of protective anger she'd seen him display on the court. Instead, he gave a diplomatic laugh. Well, I think we should focus on tonight's cause, he said, deflecting rather than defending. The socialites exchanged glances, a look that said they'd gotten their answer. Victoria smiled sweetly at Lily. Of course. Enjoy the evening, dear. As they walked away, Lily felt something crack inside her chest. The same phones that had captured their arrival were now recording this moment, this public questioning of her worth, her place in Jake's life. And Jake had said nothing. Lily, Jake started, but she was already walking back inside, her grandmother's emerald dress suddenly feeling like a costume she had no right to wear. The rest of the evening passed in a blur of forced smiles and careful conversations. Lily watched Jake navigate the crowd, saw how easily he laughed with people who just dismissed her, how smoothly he moved from group to group without ever quite circling back to defend what had happened on the terrace. By the time they reached their shared apartment in the Pearl District, the social media damage was complete. The hashtag #WrongLeague was trending, complete with side-by-side photos of Lily and Jake's ex-girlfriend, a model named Cassandra, who'd attended events in $1,000 gowns and never looked out of place. Jake tried to talk to her as she sat on their couch, still in her grandmother's dress, scrolling through the endless stream of comments that dissected her appearance, her background, her worthiness. It doesn't matter what they think, he said, sitting beside her. You know that, right? Do I? Lily looked at him, this man she'd fallen in love with, despite all her instincts warning her they came from different worlds. Because when Victoria was questioning whether I'm good enough for your image, you didn't exactly rush to my defense. Jake ran his hands through his hair, a gesture she recognized when he was frustrated on the court. It's complicated, Lily. My career, the team, there are considerations. Considerations. The word tasted bitter. Is that what I am? That's not what I meant. But his eyes wouldn't meet hers, and in that moment, Lily saw the truth he wasn't saying. Part of him wondered the same thing the internet trolls did. Part of him questioned whether she belonged in his world. Her phone rang, jarring them both from the heavy silence. The caller ID showed a number she didn't recognize, but something about it seemed familiar. Ms. Carter, this is David Hendricks from Hendricks, Walsh & Associates. I'm calling regarding your grandmother's estate. I know it's late, but there's been a development that requires your immediate attention. Could you possibly come in tomorrow morning? It's rather urgent. Lily frowned. Her grandmother had died 6 months ago, and the estate had been settled weeks ago. Margaret Carter hadn't had much, just the small house Lily had grown up in and a modest savings account. Is there a problem with the house? Lily asked. There was a pause. Ms. Carter, I think it would be better if we discussed this in person. Would 9 a.m. work? After hanging up, Lily found Jake watching her with concern that felt genuine for the first time all evening. Everything okay? I don't know. Lily looked down at her phone, then back at the man she thought she'd spend her life with. I really don't know. As she changed out of her grandmother's dress, carefully hanging it in the closet where it had waited for special occasions that never seemed special enough, Lily caught her reflection in the mirror. For just a moment, she saw not the woman who'd been found wanting tonight, but someone else. Someone with her grandmother's steady gaze and quiet strength. The woman in the mirror looked like she was waiting for something. Tomorrow, she would discover what. Preparing and narrating the story took us a lot of time, so if you're enjoying it, subscribe to our channel. It means a lot to us. Now back to the story. The morning light felt harsh against Lily's eyes as she sat across from David Hendricks in his downtown law office. She'd barely slept, replaying the gala's humiliations while Jake tossed restlessly beside her. He'd left early for practice without their usual goodbye kiss, the distance between them growing wider with each unspoken word. Hendricks was a man in his 60s, with silver hair and the kind of expensive suit that whispered rather than shouted wealth. His office overlooked the Willamette River, and Lily found herself staring at the water, trying to calm her nerves. Ms. Carter, what I'm about to tell you will come as quite a shock. Hendricks opened a thick file, his expression carefully neutral. Your grandmother's estate was more complex than initially apparent. I don't understand. We went through everything, the house, her savings account. Those were her visible assets. Hendricks slid a document across the mahogany desk. Margaret Carter maintained a separate portfolio under her maiden name. She was quite simply one of the most successful early-stage tech investors on the West Coast.
The numbers on the page didn't make sense. Lily read them twice, then a third time, her software engineer's mind struggling to process what she was seeing. $2.3 billion? She whispered. Your grandmother began investing in 1981. Hendricks continued, his voice gentle but matter-of-fact. Apple, Microsoft, Amazon, when it was just selling books. She had an extraordinary eye for disruptive technology. He paused. She also left specific instructions that you not be informed until after her funeral arrangements were complete. She wanted you to grieve her, not her wealth. Lily's hands trembled as she turned pages. Shell companies, investment trusts, technology patents, a labyrinth of wealth hidden behind her grandmother's modest librarian facade. She knew. Lily looked up. About Jake? About everything? Hendricks nodded toward a sealed envelope marked with Lily's name and her grandmother's careful script. She left this for you. My dearest Lily, the letter began in familiar handwriting. If you're reading this, then you've discovered my secret. I hope you can forgive an old woman her deceptions, but I wanted you to find your own worth before you learned of mine. I've watched you doubt yourself, seen you shrink to fit into spaces too small for your mind and heart. The world will tell you that you don't belong, that you're not enough. They told me the same thing, a librarian's daughter who dared to understand technology before the men in suits figured it out. This fortune isn't just money, Lily. It's possibility. It's the power to choose who you become rather than accepting who others say you are. Use it wisely. Use it to remember that worth isn't something others give you, it's something you claim. Love, Grandma Maggie. P.S. That young man of yours needs to learn that protecting someone you love isn't a consideration, it's a reflex. Lily's phone buzzed. A text from Jake. How did the lawyer meeting go? Everything okay? She stared at the message, then at the portfolio showing her grandmother's Microsoft investments alone were worth more than Jake's entire contract. Last night she'd felt small, diminished, unworthy. This morning, she held enough power to buy the team that employed him. The irony wasn't lost on her. For months, Scarlett Monroe had questioned whether Lily was good enough for Jake's brand. Now Lily wondered if Jake was good enough for hers. Miss Carter?
Hendricks was watching her carefully. "There are decisions to be made about the portfolio management." "I need some time," Lily said, gathering the papers, "to think." As she walked out into the Portland morning, her grandmother's words echoing in her mind, Lily felt something shifting inside her. The woman who'd been found wanting at last night's gala was gone. In her place stood someone new, someone with choices, someone with power. 3 days had passed since the lawyer's office, and Lily sat in her favorite coffee shop in Southeast Portland, surrounded by spreadsheets and laptop screens. To anyone watching, she looked like any other tech worker burning through deadlines. They couldn't see the Portland Storm financial reports hidden beneath her actual code projects, or the detailed analysis of professional sports ownership structures she'd been compiling. Jake thought she was dealing with grief. He'd grown gentler since the gala, bringing her coffee in the mornings, suggesting they skip the high-profile events that had become torture. He didn't know she'd spent 48 hours straight learning everything about his team's precarious financial situation. The Storm was hemorrhaging money. Poor management, bad contracts, a string of losing seasons. She could see why owner Bill Morrison was quietly shopping the franchise. The asking price was $200 million. For Lily, it was pocket change. "You've been different," Chloe Bennett's voice cut through her concentration. Her best friend slid into the opposite chair, journalist instincts clearly pinging. "Secretive. And since when do you care about sports analytics?" Lily quickly minimized the browser window showing NBA ownership requirements. "Just trying to understand Jake's world better." "Right." Chloe's hazel eyes were sharp. "Because understanding his world requires researching TV revenue splits and luxury tax thresholds?" Before Lily could deflect, her phone rang. Jake's contact photo filled the screen. Him lashing after their first date, looking at her like she was the only person in the world. "Hey," she answered, keeping her voice light. "Practice just ended. Morrison called a team meeting for tomorrow morning. Word is there's news about ownership. Players are freaking out." Lily's pulse quickened. Morrison was making his move. What kind of news? Nobody knows. But when owners call emergency meetings... Jake trailed off. "Look, I know you've been dealing with your grandmother's stuff, but could we grab dinner tonight? I feel like we haven't really talked since the gala." "Of course." Lily closed her laptop, her research suddenly feeling urgent. "How about that Thai place on Division?" After hanging up, she found Chloe studying her with uncomfortable intensity. "Lily, I've known you for 8 years. You're planning something. Whatever it is, be careful. The sports world isn't like tech. It's tribal, political, and they don't like outsiders." That evening, over pad thai and nervous conversation, Jake talked about contract uncertainties and roster changes. Lily listened, watching this man she loved worry about forces beyond her control. The irony burned. She could solve every problem he mentioned with a single phone call.
"You know what's funny?" Jake picked at his food. "Sometimes I wonder what would happen if someone completely outside the sports world bought a team. Like, what if some tech billionaire decided to shake things up?" Lily's chopsticks paused halfway to her mouth. "Hypothetically? Yeah. I mean, most owners are old money, traditional. But someone young with different ideas?" Jake shrugged. "Probably be a disaster. Players wouldn't respect him." "Or maybe," Lily said carefully, "they'd bring a fresh perspective." Jake laughed, the sound easy for the first time in days. "Babe, you're sweet, but sports isn't like coding. You can't debug a locker room." That night, as Jake slept beside her, Lily stared at the ceiling and made her decision. She pulled out her phone and typed a message to David Hendricks. "I want to buy the Portland Storm. Completely confidential. How quickly can this happen?" The response came within minutes. "I'll make some calls. Welcome to the game, Miss Carter." Lily smiled in the darkness. Tomorrow, Jake would learn that sometimes the most dangerous players were the ones nobody saw coming. The conference room at Hendricks, Walsh & Associates hummed with quiet intensity. 2 weeks had passed since Lily's decision, and her acquisition team, assembled around the polished table, looked like something from a corporate thriller. Sports attorneys, financial analysts, and NBA compliance experts, all sworn to absolute secrecy.
Morrison's desperate, reported Sarah Chen, the lead sports attorney. His health scare accelerated everything. He wants this done quietly, quickly, and without media speculation tanking the team's value. Lily nodded, reviewing the final bid documents. Through shell companies and intermediaries, she'd become LC Holdings, a mysterious entity with legitimate funding and serious intent. Morrison had no idea Jake Sullivan's girlfriend was about to buy his team. The NBA's background check will be thorough, warned Marcus Webb, the league compliance specialist. They'll want to meet the real buyer eventually. Eventually isn't now, Lily replied, signing the papers with steady hands. The woman who had trembled at charity galas was gone, replaced by someone who could authorize $250 million transactions without blinking. Her phone buzzed with a text from Jake. "Scarlett's been asking weird questions about you. Something about your family having money? Told her she was crazy." Lily's jaw tightened. Scarlett Monroe's radar was pinging, which meant she'd need to move faster. Another message, this time from Chloe. "Lily, I'm hearing rumors about the storm sale. Call me." The acquisition accelerated. Morrison, facing mounting medical bills and league pressure over team finances, agreed to terms that afternoon. By evening, LC Holdings owned the Portland Storm Basketball Club, pending league approval, a process that could take months but rarely failed for qualified buyers. Lily sat in her car outside the team's practice facility, watching Jake emerge with teammates. He looked tired, stressed about roster uncertainty and contract negotiations. Soon, she'd control every aspect of his professional life. Her phone rang. Morrison himself. "Miss Carter, Bill Morrison, my attorneys tell me you're the real buyer behind LC Holdings." "That's correct." "Mind if I ask why the secrecy? Usually new owners want publicity." Lily watched Jake laugh at something Derek Washington said, the veteran captain's arm around his shoulders. "Personal reasons, Mr. Morrison. I prefer to be underestimated." "Well, congratulations. You just bought yourself a basketball team." Morrison paused. "Fair warning, this business will test everything you think you know about leadership, loyalty, and human nature. These players, they're not just employees. They're proud men with egos and opinions." That night, Jake found her on their apartment's balcony staring at the city lights. "You've been different lately," he said, wrapping his arms around her from behind. "Distant. Just processing things. My grandmother's death, the gala." "About that night, I've been thinking. Scarlett was right about one thing. Image matters in this business." Jake's voice carried careful conviction. "Maybe we should keep a lower profile until my contract situation settles." Lily leaned back against him, feeling the cruel irony. "You want to hide me?" "Not hide, but just be strategic." She turned to face him, studying this man she loved who wanted to make her invisible. "And if I don't want to be strategic, if I want to be seen?" Jake's smile was gentle, patronizing. "Babe, sometimes love means protecting each other from things we can't control." "What if I could control them?" "Control what? The media? Public opinion?" Jake laughed softly. "Nobody controls that machine." Lily's phone buzzed with a message from Hendricks. "League approval expedited. Announcement Monday. Congratulations, owner." She looked up at Jake, this man who thought love meant making her smaller, safer, invisible. In 3 days, she'd step into a press conference as the youngest female owner in professional sports. The same people who'd questioned her worth would learn exactly how much power she had been hiding. "You're right," she told Jake, her voice steady. "Nobody controls that machine. But some people," she thought, "could buy it." The press conference was scheduled at 11 a.m. At 10:30, Jake was still at practice, unaware that his girlfriend was about to step behind the podium at the Portland Storm Media Center as the team's new owner.
Lily stood in the corridor outside the main room, listening to the buzz of assembled reporters. David Hendricks appeared beside her, straightening his tie. NBA approval came through this morning. You're officially the youngest female majority owner in league history. Ready for this?
Through the glass doors, she could see the crowd, local sports reporters, national media who'd flown in for the mystery announcement, and team executives who'd learned her identity only an hour ago. Their faces ranged from curious to skeptical to openly hostile. "Miss Carter?" A team staffer approached. "We're ready." Lily walked into the room, her heels clicking against polished concrete. The cameras turned toward her like predators scenting blood. She'd chosen her outfit carefully, a navy blazer that spoke of authority without ostentation, her grandmother's pearl earrings for strength. The room fell silent as she reached the podium. She could practically hear the collective thought, "Who is this?" "Good morning," Lily began, her voice carrying clearly through the room. "My name is Lily Carter. And as of this morning, I am the majority owner of the Portland Storm." The silence lasted exactly 3 seconds before erupting into chaos. Reporters shouted questions over each other, cameras flashed, and phones appeared as journalists frantically Googled her name. "Miss Carter," a reporter from ESPN fought to be heard. "What's your background in professional sports?" "I'm a software engineer," Lily replied calmly. "My experience is in building systems, analyzing data, and solving complex problems. Basketball is the ultimate team optimization challenge." "Where did the funding come from?" demanded another reporter. "Private family investments in technology. True, if incomplete." "Isn't this Jake Sullivan's girlfriend?" The question came from the back, causing a fresh wave of murmurs. Lily's expression didn't change. "Mr. Sullivan is an employee of this organization. Our personal relationship will not affect professional decisions." Across town, Jake's phone buzzed with notifications, then another, then dozens. He pulled it out during a water break, frowning at the flood of messages and missed calls. The first text was from Derek Washington. "Dude, turn on Channel 8, now!" Jake grabbed the remote in the players' lounge, switching to the local news station. The headline banner read, "Mystery buyer revealed. Software engineer Lily Carter purchases Portland Storm." The blood drained from Jake's face as he watched Lily, his Lily, standing confidently behind a podium fielding questions about roster decisions and franchise direction. The woman who'd been dismissed as not good enough was now his boss. His phone rang. Scarlett Monroe. "Did you know?" she demanded without preamble. "Know what?" Jake's voice came out strangled. "That your little girlfriend just bought your team? Jake, this is a disaster. The optics alone." Jake hung up, staring at the screen where Lily was explaining her vision for data-driven roster construction. She looked different, powerful, like someone he'd never met. Back at the press conference, a reporter raised her hand. "Miss Carter, critics will say you're unqualified for this position. How do you respond?" Her smile was sharp as winter. 6 months ago, those same critics said I wasn't qualified to date a professional athlete. Today, I own the team. I'd say their track record for evaluating my qualifications speaks for itself. The room went dead quiet. "My first decision as owner," Lily continued, "is to build a culture where performance matters more than perception, where talent trumps tradition. The Portland Storm will be an organization that values substance over style." Her gaze found the camera that she knew was broadcasting live. "To our players, our fans, and our community, judge me by my actions, not your assumptions. The game has changed." As applause rippled through the room, Jake sat in the empty locker room staring at the woman he thought he knew delivering the performance of her life. His phone buzzed with a text from Lily. "We need to talk." The Portland Storm practice facility felt foreign despite her familiarity with its corridors. Lily had walked these halls as Jake's girlfriend. Now she moved with the weight of ownership. Conversations died when she passed. Some players nodded respectfully. Others pretended not to see her. Her first official team meeting loomed at 10 a.m. Through the conference room door, she heard fragments of conversation that made her stomach clench. "Never touched a basketball. Sugar mama bought her boy a team. This is what happens when feelings meet business." Lily pushed through the door to immediate silence. 12 professional athletes, coaches,
and executives stared at her with expressions ranging from polite curiosity to open contempt. Miss Carter, a team staffer, Derek Washington, commanded the room's attention without trying. The 32-year-old captain had the kind of presence that made rookies stand straighter and veterans listen. His dark eyes assessed her with undisguised skepticism. Miss Carter, Derek's voice carried the authority of someone accustomed to being heard. Players have concerns. I'm here to address them. Simple question. Derek leaned forward. Why basketball? You've got billions. Could have bought anything. Why mess with something you don't understand? The room held its breath. This was her moment. Earn their respect or lose them forever.
Because understanding doesn't require playing, Lily replied, her voice steady. It requires seeing patterns others miss. This team finished 26th in defensive efficiency last season. Your pick-and-roll coverage has a 43% success rate. You're underperforming by every measurable metric despite having more raw talent than 8 playoff teams. A few players exchanged surprised glances. She'd done her homework. What about Jake? Tony Martinez, the point guard, gestured toward the back of the room. How's that dynamic gonna work? Every eye turned to Jake, who shifted uncomfortably. Lily felt the weight of their relationship hanging in the balance. Mr. Sullivan will be evaluated like every other player, on performance, professionalism, and contribution to team success. Personal relationships don't change professional standards. Cold, someone muttered. Fair, she corrected sharply. Everyone here earns their position. Derek's eyes flashed. Look, lady, Miss Carter. Her voice cut through the air like ice. The room went completely silent. Derek nodded slowly, something like respect flickering across his features. Ms. Carter. Players respect owners who understand the game, not ones buying teams to settle scores. Then judge me by results, not assumptions. Lily pulled out her tablet, projecting statistics onto the wall screen. This roster, properly deployed with systematic defensive schemes and optimized rotations, should be competing for playoffs. I didn't buy this team to prove anything to critics. I bought it because I see potential everyone else missed. Bobby Hayes, the general manager, spoke for the first time. What's your timeline? This season, starting now. Lily's confidence filled the room. But I need total commitment. Half-hearted effort produces half-hearted results. Derek studied her for a long moment. You really think you can turn this around? I know I can. The question is whether you're ready to do the work. After the meeting emptied, Bobby approached her. Impressive. Most new owners talk championships and marquee signings. You talked systems. Systems win games. Personalities lose them. Bobby smiled. Advice? Derek's respect isn't given, it's earned. But once you have it, he'll move mountains for you. That evening, alone in her new office, overlooking the practice court, Lily's phone rang. Jake's name on the screen. We need to talk, he said without preamble. I know. This changes everything, Lily, everything. I stared at the court below, where janitors swept away the day's sweat and dreams. Yes, she said quietly. It does. 2 weeks into ownership, Lily faced her first impossible choice. She sat in the conference room with Bobby Hayes, staring at the trade proposal that had arrived that morning. The Chicago Bulls wanted Jake Sullivan in exchange for a veteran point guard and 2 draft picks, a deal that would instantly improve the Storm's championship prospects. It's a good offer, Bobby said carefully, studying her face. Martinez is aging out and we need depth. Jackson from Chicago would give us legitimate playoff experience. Lily turned the contract pages, each one representing the destruction of her personal life for the good of the team. What does Derek think? Surprised me. Said if it helps us win, personal feelings don't matter. Bobby paused. Jake's been distracted lately. Missing rotations, arguing with coaches. Whatever's happening between you two is affecting his game. The irony burned. She'd gained the power to build a championship team, but using it meant trading away the man she loved. There's something else, Bobby continued. Scarlett Monroe's been making calls around the league, spreading rumors about Jake's situation, suggesting he's unhappy here, creating a narrative that this trade would be a mercy. Livy's jaw tightened. Scarlett was playing both sides, positioning herself to benefit regardless of the outcome. Her phone buzzed. A text from Jake. Can we please talk? This silence is killing me.
She hadn't spoken to him outside of team meetings since the ownership reveal. Every conversation felt like a minefield. Too much history, too much hurt, too much tower imbalance. "What's your gut tell you?" Bobby asked. Before Lily could answer, Derek Washington knocked and entered without waiting. The veteran captain looked older than his 32 years, the weight of leadership etched in the lines around his eyes. "Heard about the trade offer," Derek said, settling into a chair. "Want to know what I think?" "Always. Jake's talented, but he's lost right now. Can't focus on basketball when his personal life is a disaster." Derek's gaze was direct. "As captain, I need players who can compartmentalize. As a man, I understand why he can't." "So you support the trade?" "I support winning, but—" Lily hesitated, something unusual for him. "I've been watching you, Miss Carter. The way you study film, ask questions, listen to feedback, you're not here for revenge or ego. You actually care about this team. What's your point?" Trading Jake sends a message that personal relationships don't matter, that winning justifies any cost. Derek leaned forward. "Is that the culture you want to build?" That evening, Lily stood in her apartment, staring at Jake's things scattered around their shared space. His gym bag by the door, his favorite coffee mug in the sink, photos of them from happier times on the bookshelf. Jake appeared in the doorway, still in his practice gear. "Bobby told me about the trade," he said quietly. "Did he? Are you going to do it?" Lily turned to face him, this man who had failed to defend her when it mattered, who had wanted to hide her from his world. Now she held his career in her hands. "I don't know." Jake's composure cracked. "Lily, I know I screwed up. At the gala, with Scarlett, all of it. I was scared and stupid, and I let other people make me doubt what we had." "What we had," she repeated, past tense.
Is it? Is it really past tense? She looked at him, really looked at him, saw the fear behind his athlete's confidence, the vulnerability he'd hidden behind his public persona. "You wanted me smaller, quieter, less visible. I wanted to protect you." "From what? From being seen as worthy?" Jake ran his hands through his hair, the familiar gesture now painful to watch. "I was wrong. About everything. But trading me won't fix what's broken between us." Lily's phone sat on the counter, Bobby's number ready to dial. One call would send Jake to Chicago and give her team the pieces it needed to win. The question was, what kind of owner did she want to be? The next morning, Lily called Bobby with her decision. Jake stays. The Chicago trade died with a single phone call, but the conversation she'd been avoiding could no longer wait. She found Jake in the team gym at midnight, shooting alone under harsh fluorescent lights. The rhythmic bounce of the ball against hardwood echoed through the empty space like a heartbeat. "I kept you," she said from the doorway. Jake's next shot clanged off the rim. He turned to face her, sweat-soaked and exhausted. "Why?" "Because trading you would have been the coward's way out. Or the smart business decision." Lily stepped onto the court, her heels clicking against a polished wood. "We need to talk. Really talk." Jake caught the basketball, holding it against his hip. "I've been trying to talk to you for weeks." "No, you've been trying to apologize. There's a difference." Lily's voice carried the authority she'd learned as owner, but underneath was the hurt of the woman he'd failed to protect. "You want to know why I bought this team? It wasn't revenge, Jake. It was proof." "Proof of what?" "That I was worthy. That the woman who wasn't good enough for your world could own it." Her laugh was bitter. "Turns out, when you have enough money, everyone decides you're worthy pretty quickly." Jake set the ball down, running both hands through his hair. "I never said you weren't worthy. You didn't have to. When Victoria questioned whether I belonged in your life, you said nothing. When Scarlett suggested I should be less visible, you agreed. When the world decided I was beneath you, you let them." "I was protecting yourself." The word cut through his excuse like a blade. "You were protecting your image, your brand, your precious reputation. You were never protecting me."
Jake's composure finally cracked. "You're right. I was scared. Scared of what people would say, scared of how it would affect my career. I let other people's opinions matter more than your feelings. And now? Now you hold all the power, and I'm terrified you'll use it the way I used mine, to make someone you claim to love feel small." The honesty hung between them like smoke. Lily studied his face, seeing fear she'd never noticed before beneath his athletic confidence. "You want to know the difference between us?" she said quietly. "When I had no power, I still tried to lift you up. When you had all the power, you tried to make me invisible." Jake's phone buzzed on the bench. Scarlett's name flashed on the screen. "Answer it," Lily commanded. Jake hesitated, then put the call on speaker. "Jake, darling, I heard about the trade falling through. Don't worry, I'm already working on getting you to Miami. Much better fit for your brand." "Scarlett," Jake's voice was steady, "you're fired." Silence stretched across the line. "Excuse me?" "You heard me. Clean out your contacts, send your final invoice, we're done." "Jake, you're making a mistake. She's using you." "The only one using me was you." Jake ended the call, his eyes never leaving Lily's face. "Why?" asked Lily. "Because I'm tired of people telling me what's good for my brand instead of what's good for my life." Jake stepped closer. "I love you, Lily. Not your money, not your power. You. The woman who stayed up all night debugging my fantasy football app, who brought me soup when I had the flu and never asked for anything back. That woman felt worthy of love. This woman isn't sure anymore. Then let me prove it to you." Lily looked at this man who had broken her heart and was now asking for the chance to heal it. The power to say yes or no was entirely hers. For the first time since buying the team, she felt the true weight of the choice. 3 months later, the Portland Storm occupied third place in the Western Conference. Lily's systematic approach was working. Better defensive rotations, optimized playing time, and a culture shift that prioritized accountability over ego. She watched practice from the owner's box, noting how Derek Washington had become her strongest advocate among the players. "Never thought I'd say this, but you might actually know what you're doing," Derek told her after practice. Jake was thriving too. Without Scarlett's constant manipulation and clarity about his relationship with Lily, his game had reached new heights. They were slowly rebuilding trust, professional boundaries during team hours, tentative personal conversations afterward. "We're seeing a marriage counselor," Lily told Chloe for lunch. "Even though we're not married yet. Maybe especially because we're not." "How's that going?" Chloe asked, balancing her dual role as friend and sports journalist with careful precision. "Hard, but honest." Lily stirred her coffee thoughtfully. "We're learning to separate Jake the player from Jake the man I love. It's messier than I expected." "And the team?" "They respect me now. Most of them, anyway." Lily's smile was proud. "Derek said something yesterday that stuck. He told the rookies that talent without character is just expensive entertainment."
The real test came during a nationally televised game against the Lakers. Lily sat courtside, her presence now accepted rather than questioned. When a referee made a questionable call against Jake, she remained stoic, professional. But when he hit the game-winning shot, she allowed herself a brief smile. After the game, reporters cornered her in the tunnel. "Miss Carter, how do you balance your personal relationship with Mr. Sullivan and your role as owner?" "The same way any professional handles potential conflicts of interest, with clear boundaries, transparent communication, and accountability." Her answer was practiced but genuine. Jake earns his playing time like every other player on this roster. Later, in the quiet of her office, Jake knocked on the doorframe. "Got a minute?" She looked up from game film, noting how he waited for permission to enter rather than assuming access. Small changes, but meaningful ones.
Tony's retiring at season end, Jake said, settling into the chair across from her desk. His knee can't take another season. I know. Bobby and I have been discussing replacements. There's something else. Jake's voice carried new confidence. Derek thinks I should be team captain next year. Lily set down her tablet. What do you think? I think I'm ready. For the responsibility, the leadership role. He paused. For being worthy of it. The word hung between them. Worthy. So much had changed since that charity gala where she'd felt unworthy of his world. I'd have your support, she said carefully, as owner. And as the woman I love? Lily looked at this man who'd grown from someone who'd hidden her to someone ready to lead others. That woman thinks you've learned what leadership actually means. Jake's smile was genuine, vulnerable. I love you, Lily Carter. Both versions, the brilliant software engineer and the badass team owner. They're the same person. I just finally figured that out. Outside her window, Portland's skyline glittered with promise. The team was succeeding, their relationship was healing, and Lily had learned that true power wasn't about control, it was about lifting others up while staying true to yourself. She was worthy. She'd always been worthy. Now she finally believed it. 1 year later, Lily stood in the same Portland Art Museum ballroom where her world had shattered. Tonight, she was hosting the Children's Hospital Charity Gala, and the Portland Storm had just clinched their first playoff berth in 6 years. The woman in the mirror bore little resemblance to the insecure girlfriend who'd hidden on terraces. Lily wore a custom gown that spoke of confidence earned rather than inherited, her grandmother's emerald necklace catching the light as she adjusted it one final time. Ready? Jake appeared behind her, devastating in his tuxedo, but the real change was in his eyes. They held the steady confidence of a man who'd learned his worth wasn't dependent on others' approval. Ready, she replied, meaning it completely. They entered the ballroom together, not as the basketball star and his questionable girlfriend, but as equals. The same people who'd whispered about her worthiness now approached with genuine respect. Victoria Ashford, who'd questioned her place in Jake's life, now sought her advice on charitable initiatives. Miss Carter, I wanted to discuss the Foundation's expansion plans. Of course, Lily replied graciously, remembering her grandmother's wisdom about quiet strength being more powerful than public revenge. The evening's highlight came when Lily took the stage to announce the Storm's new community center, funded entirely by team profits. As she spoke about investing in Portland's youth, she caught sight of Derek Washington in the audience, now team captain, nodding approvingly. This is what success looks like, she told the crowd. Not just winning games, but winning the right way. As a community, as partners, as people who lift each other up. Later during the auction, Jake surprised everyone by taking the microphone.
Last year at this event, I failed someone I love, he said, his voice carrying across the silent ballroom. I let fear and others' opinions matter more than standing up for what was right. His eyes found Lily's. Tonight, I want everyone to know that Lily Carter isn't just the best owner in professional sports, she's the best person I know. The applause was thunderous, but Lily barely heard it. She was focused on Jake's face, seeing the man he'd become, someone willing to be vulnerable in public, to prioritize love over image. After the gala, they walked along the Willamette River, Portland's lights reflecting on the water like scattered diamonds. No regrets? Jake asked, taking her hand. Lily smiled, thinking of her grandmother's letter about claiming worth rather than waiting for others to grant it. Only one. What's that? That it took me so long to realize I was always enough. Jake stopped walking, pulling her close. You were never the problem, Lily. The problem was a world too small to see how extraordinary you are. As he kissed her under the stars, Lily felt the last piece of her old insecurity dissolve. She'd bought a basketball team to prove her worth, but somewhere along the way, she'd learned the most important lesson of all. She didn't need to prove anything to anyone. She was worthy simply because she existed, loved fiercely, and refused to be made small. That was power enough. Up next, you've got 2 more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so you don't miss any upload from us.